Hi everyone, my name is Simon Misiewicz from Optimised Accountants, and in this video I'm going to be talking about UK versus Spanish property investing. There's so much that you need to look at, especially when you think about UK property investing. Feels like lots of people are saying buy-to-let is dead, but it's not so dead in other parts of the world, including Spain, where I live. So let's get into the details here. Before we do, there are other channels. So if you're looking at expat international tax, you think about moving countries because, well, you're sick and tired of the UK, then you can use that channel to get some good advice. You've got the middle channel, UK Property Tax Accountants, and the one on the right hand side, which is following the journey of Louise and I moving from the UK to Spain. You can get our updated property tax guide that's been published after the autumn budget announcements, so feel free to download that. That's the QR code. The link is also in the description box below. All right, so we're going to look at rental yields. Is it a good opportunity to invest in Spain or keep within the UK? So let's have a look at this. This is just some analysis I've done over a period of time. And I'm going to look at different sites such as Zoopla and Rightmove. And there are sites similar to that in Spain as well, which I've used. So first place, we have Sunderland, Northeast more in particular, but Sunderland would stand out. Between 7% and 8% yield, which is astonishing, really. Compared to Spain, Valencia, 5 to 7%, so not as high as the UK there, but still a good return on your investment. Well, more to do with gross yield. Second place, then you've got the Northwest, and in particular Liverpool, which has yields of 5 to 7%, and in Spain you've got Seville, which is 5 to 6%. Third place, we have Mids, where I'm from, Nottingham, interesting enough, which is 5 to 6%. And Marbella, actually, where I now live, interesting, which has got yields of 4 to 6%. So very similar between the UK. In the fourth place, you've got the Southeast in the UK, which has got the gross yields of 3 to 5% versus Mallorca of 4 to 6% in Spain. So interesting enough, there are comparables between the UK and Spain, but why would you invest in Spain rather than the UK? Well, let's have a look at a bit more information here. So when you're investing in property, many people have been investing in property in their own names, but there are company structures you can use as well to save UK tax. In Spain, it is exactly the same. I see a lot of people that have invested in property, but in their own name. And it really isn't that tax efficient to do so. And I'll explain why a little later on, because you could have invested in real estate property in Spain using a Spanish limited company, just like you can do in the UK. And if you want some tax advice, feel free to use that QR code that I'm showing on the screen. Okay, UK upsides. There are upsides to UK property investing still. It's a strong property market. Now, everyone keeps talking about a property crash of 35%, and I think we can all now agree that was just a load of old toss. It's basically not going to decline by 35%. There may be declines, 5-10% tops, but actually what's happened is that property market is held steady all the way through these so-called recessions that we've been having. So, next one, capital increases. Because of that, over the course of 10 years, you will see that actually it's a good market to be in. Look at past 10 years. Has property prices increased? Yes, of course it has. Go back 20 years. Did property prices go up? Yes, it did. And 30 years, 40 years, etc. So it does have a nice capital increase in property, especially if you buy property that needs a bit of TLC, tender loving care. Because if you buy a property below market value or BMV, you will be making profit on top of that anyway. Rental income increasing. Now, if you look at the stats from the ONS, Office of National Statistics, you will see that rental costs for tenants has been going up month on, month out. So you need to look at this and think, well, actually, there's a strong demand. Why is that, by the way? And the reason for it is because you've got less competition. there are plenty of landlord exits right now. So we have got a push against tax against landlords. We've also got legislation changes on eviction notices, and all the, I'm going to call them amateur landlords or accidental landlords, are exiting, which is leaving the professional market untapped. And therefore, I still think it's a very good market. UK investing, some downsides though, in my opinion. And again, you may have other views on this, and that's absolutely fine. But buying property in your own name, mortgage, the interest relief cap caused by Section 24 means you cannot offset mortgage interest costs against your rental income, and therefore you are likely to pay tax, more tax than you did before. Now, I have some clients that are paying tax of circa 120, 130%. Why is that? Well, simply because the mortgage interest is a genuine cost. It's reducing their cash flow, but because they're not getting as much tax relief on it, they end up paying more money to the banks and to HMRC than they do themselves. Removal of FHA rules. So furnished holiday lets, until April 2025, you could have got some nice capital allowances claims. You could offset mortgage interest cost against your rental income. That cannot happen now in the UK. So those rules have all changed. And a furnished holiday let is pretty much like a buy-to-let. Eviction process is more difficult, as we've just talked about. UK inheritance tax rules are 40%. We know full well that inheritance tax in the UK is high. Now, you could argue, well, that would apply if you had Spanish property, right? And you could argue, yes, it could be the same. But how about you move to Spain instead? And that's my point, is rather than staying in the UK with all the rain, high taxes, rubbish government, why don't you come to Spain and get the nice sunshine and, well, I'll leave you to make the other decisions. But it could be an opportunity for you to move from the UK to Spain, and watch our channel for Louise and I as we talk about that journey, moving from the UK to Spain. All right, so Spanish investing now. Let's have a look at upsides. High yields in certain areas, definitely the case. I'm in Andalusia, in Marbella in particular, and there are huge yields going on there. More to the point, capital growth. So there is so much development going along the south coast, going from Marbella, Estepona, and moving all the way down to Sotogrande. We're going to see huge upticks in terms of property valuations, and it's a good time to get in, which is the steady capital appreciation. Even if you're not investing in the south coast, you could be investing in Madrid or the Catalonia regions. They still do have good capital rates. Is it as good as the UK? I would argue probably not to the same degree, but it's not too far off. But if you look at it regionally focused, it could actually be better than the UK. You can use the property as a holiday home. I mean, if you have a second property in the UK, it's not as though you're going to use it, is it really? But if you've got a property in Spain, Sunshine, Andalusia, you might want to use it 3 or 4 times. Could you use that short-term let? Maybe. There are rules going against us in Spain right now about short-term lets. So it may not be so good for that. But if in between tenants moving in and out, could you use it and have a nice holiday? Yes, of course you can do that. And house prices can be a lot lower than the UK. The reason why I put that in there is because you can still buy property around about 60, 70,000 euros. That's astonishingly low, and trying to find something like that in the UK is going to be very, very difficult. And I'm not talking about really bad rubbish properties either. You can get some very good investments in Spain. Yes, it may need a bit of tender love and care, but actually a good investment can be had right here in Spain. There are some downsides. I always want to give the yin and the yang. So here we are, high prices, purchase fees, between 6% to 12%. I was astonished by this because normally in the UK you're used to paying stamp duty, land tax, maybe looking around about 5, 6, 7% plus solicitors fees, so maybe 7, 8%. But actually in Spain, wow, I was shocked to be paying 11% because you've got the taxes in Spain plus the legal fees. It's a high, I have to tell you right now. So do be warned about that. The economic risk. I mean, Spain, is it as stable as the UK? I would say probably not. If it's going to have a bit of a down hit, it's going to feel it more than the UK, is my opinion. I think the UK's had a bit more of a stable economy in the past. I mean, right now, I would argue that the UK is on shaky ground and may not be as strong as Spain in the future. So who knows? But I think you do need to take into account by keeping an eye on the UK and the Spanish economy to make sure that your investment isn't at risk. Political risk. I mean, listen, every country wants immigrants, but then there's a time when they say, we don't want them anymore, we're going to try and kick them out. And that could be the same. I mean, we had easing of the visa process in Spain to encourage more people to come into Spain. The downside to that is they could easily switch that off. So by the time that we allow a certain number of people in, they may say, well, actually, we've had too many people, or crime's gone up and we're not happy with this, so we're going to reverse all this and kick everyone out. There could be a change of party. You know, we know full well that Spain has a right-wing party that does not want any immigrants at all. So they're quite happy to get rid of them. By the way, whatever your political stance on this, please don't argue with me about it. I don't have a view. Okay, so please, you can't have an argument with someone who doesn't have a view. I'm just saying you need to have a look at it. So political risk, you do need to look at that. And then laws restricting holiday lets. From Barcelona, Real Madrid, I've done it again. From Madrid, not a Real Madrid fan, by the way. But if you're looking at certain areas, then you do need to be aware that short-term furnished holiday lets type approach in Spain is going to be limited in the future. So Real Madrid, you do need to be aware. So if you're buying a property and you think, well, short-term lets, that's a good idea, be careful, because maybe those rules are going to change in the area that you're going to be investing in. Maybe you should be looking for long-term lets instead, but still make good rental yields.